Ever catch yourself scrolling through social media and you're like, is everyone famous now? Kind of makes you wonder, what even is fame these days, right? Especially with like viral videos and all these influencers everywhere. So that's what we're diving into today.
Definitely a good question.
We've got this blog post and a YouTube video, and they're both all about this whole fame thing in the digital world.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they bring up some seriously interesting points that I think they'll make you look at your own like online life a little differently.
Interesting. I'm definitely game.
Right. So the YouTube video, it uses Mr. Beast as an example.
Yeah.
As like, this guy, he's everywhere, right? He's built this whole empire just from making videos. So it makes you think about how different things are now, with the internet. Anyone can be famous.
Totally. And that's a huge change from how it used to be. Like for centuries, fame was only for a select few, like kings and queens or really important religious figures. Oh, and of course, like the occasional super famous artist would come along every now and then. And even then, they're like fame, it spread so slowly back then, mostly by word of mouth or,
Yeah.
if someone wrote something about them that got around.
It's wild to think about how different it is now.
Right. These days, you can gain like tons of followers basically overnight.
Yeah. It's like they've got their own little kingdoms, but online. And they're out there influencing like trends and what people think about stuff all over the world.
Exactly.
Makes you wonder, though, does that cheapen the idea of fame in a way?
It's a good question.
Or, I don't know, maybe it's like empowering a whole new generation to create things.
I can see that. It's definitely something to think about. And it gets even more complicated, too, because the blog post, it brings up this crazy statistic. So get this.
Okay.
Out of all the people who have ever lived, like billions and billions, right?
Yeah.
Only a tiny, tiny fraction have actually been famous. We're talking like 1 in 500,000, maybe even less.
Whoa. So even with the internet and everyone posting everything, your chances of actually becoming famous are still super slim.
Seems like it. And even if you do become famous, the blog post talks about how fame is often like generational. They use the example of Fred Astaire, which
Right.
he was a legend in his time. But how many people our age do you think really know who he was?
I mean,
Not that many.
that's a good point. It's like fame has an expiration date now or something.
Exactly. And that actually leads into another really interesting point the blog post makes, which is that even though we're more connected now than ever before, like we have the entire world at our fingertips.
Right.
Our lives, they're still actually really local.
Hmm. That's weird to think about. Because, yeah, you're right. We're always interacting with people online all over the world.
All the time.
So how can our lives still be mostly local? You know what I mean?
It's like a weird paradox,
Yeah.
right? But as the blog points out, so many of our like important interactions still happen within our own little bubbles. Think about it. That barista you always see, they
Mhm.
know your order, know your name, maybe even chat with you a little.
Yeah, yeah.
Or that neighbor you always see out on your morning walk. It's like our digital world is huge, but there's still something really grounding about those smaller, more local connections and routines. They're kind of what our everyday lives are really made up of.
Makes those online interactions seem kind of, I don't know.
Less important.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe. I don't know. It's something to think about. And it actually leads into another thought-provoking point from what we were reading, which is the whole idea of our digital footprint and what that even means in the long run. Like what will it matter, all the stuff we do online after we're gone.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. I do remember the blog talking about that. How even just leaving a comment on something online is like contributing to this permanent record of you existing.
Exactly. And it's everything. Every comment, video, post, whatever, it all adds up. It's like, remember how we were talking about those cave paintings earlier?
Yeah.
Those weren't meant to be seen by anyone but the people who made them. But here we are, thousands of years later, still finding them, still trying to understand them. And it's the same with all this digital stuff. It's like we're all leaving our own version of a cave painting online, in a way.
That makes that embarrassing video I posted years ago seem a lot more permanent.
Maybe a little.
Yeah.
But for real, it makes you think. Like, what do we actually want to leave behind? What do we want people to remember us for?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of freaky if you think about it too much.
I know, right? And it also kind of makes you think about this idea that even though, like you said, it's easier now than ever to get famous, it also seems like fame is way more temporary now.
Oh, yeah, totally. Like you were saying before, something can be like super popular one day and then poof, gone the next. So Does that even matter? Should people even try to be famous anymore?
It's such a weird thing to think about, right? We have all these new ways to share our voices and our work with more people than ever. But it's almost like it's easier to just get lost in the shuffle now.
So then, what's the point? If all fame fades eventually,
Hmm.
what should we even be trying to do here? How do you actually leave a mark on the world?
I think that's the million-dollar question. And honestly, I think the answer might be a lot more simple than we realize. Like, from what we were reading, it seems like what really matters is just like connecting with people in a genuine way and creating things that are meaningful,
Mm.
And those are things you can do whether you're online or not.
I like that. Like,
Yeah.
it's not just about how many people follow you online or how many likes you get. It's the quality of those interactions.
Exactly. Like, what were the best conversations you've had? Were they online?
Uh,
Probably not, actually.
right. And it's the relationships, the connections you make. Those are the things that really make life, like, richer, And those can happen in person, sure, but they can also happen online, too.
Yeah.
And then the stuff you make, the art or whatever it is that makes you happy,
Hmm.
if that connects with people, even just a few people,
Hmm.
in a real way, that matters.
I feel that. I feel like there's less pressure when you think about it that way.
It's not about becoming some big influencer. It's just about making something or doing something that matters.
Exactly. And it actually goes back to something else we saw in the YouTube video. This whole idea that even if people forget about you, forget about the stuff you posted or whatever, they'll remember how you made them feel. Like the energy you put out into the world. Like, think about a time when someone left you a really nice comment on something.
I mean, yeah, it's always nice to get a nice comment.
Right. And you probably don't even remember who it was who left it.
True?
But that little interaction, that probably made their day, right?
Yeah.
And maybe it even inspired them to be a little nicer, a little more creative. Who knows? The point is, those little interactions, those little acts of kindness, they can have a ripple effect.
It's kind of like that butterfly effect thing.
Exactly. Like even the smallest thing can make a difference in ways you don't even realize.
Whoa. That's trippy
Mm.
and also kind of cool.
And the blog actually mentioned something else that's kind of similar. Like, if you think about it, all throughout history, people have been making things without even thinking about whether or not they'd be famous for it.
Huh. Like what?
What, like, remember those cave paintings we were talking about before?
Yeah.
Do you think the people who made those were worried about being famous?
I mean, no, probably not.
Right. They were just expressing themselves, communicating. Maybe it was even part of their religion. Who knows? But those paintings, they're still here.
It really makes you think, maybe it's not about chasing fame. Maybe it's about creating something that feels true to you, something that speaks to the, like, human experience.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be a masterpiece to matter. It could be an amazing meal you cooked. Or like even just telling someone you love them.
Yeah, I like that. It's about doing things with intention.
Absolutely.
That's a good place to leave it, I think. Like, it's not just about, I don't know, getting a bunch of likes. It's about something more than that, right?
It really is. It's like we all have the potential to leave something good behind. Even if it's just like, being kind to people online or sharing something creative.
So I don't know about you, but after all this, I'm feeling hopeful, I guess. Like, internet can feel kind of, I don't know, crazy sometimes. But we can actually choose to use it to make things better.
I agree. And that's something that everyone listening should remember. You don't need 1 million followers to do something good. Just focus on like being genuine, making stuff that means something to you, and just putting those good vibes out there.
Yeah, be the change, right?
Exactly. And who knows, maybe someday, way in the future, someone will come across something you posted, a nice thing you said, a cool video, whatever, and it'll mean something to them.
That'd be kind of cool. Makes you want to go make something right now.
For real.
Well, that's our show. Thanks for listening to us ramble on about fame and legacies and all that. And remember, keep creating, keep connecting with people, and you never know who you might inspire.
We've given you the starting point, the first clue in this intriguing mystery. Now it's your turn to take the reins. Head over to KindredSoulSearch.com and see what you uncover. What could Kindred Soul Search mean to you? Maybe jot down your thoughts, your impressions. Consider this deep dive your launch pad, the first step on a journey of discovery.